Welcome everyone, my name is Chris, and in this video I'm going to be building from scratch a first contact era spacesuit from the Star Trek series. It has also made appearances in Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Deep Space Nine for about 10 seconds or so. This is going to be a fun one for me. I've already previously done original iteration of it. You can see the jumpsuit there behind me. That was about 6 years ago, 2019. That was only 2 years into my sewing journey, if you will. This has been a requested video for me to do. If you like this type of content, be sure to like the video, subscribe. It helps grow the channel if you want me to do more of these. It's a great asset for me to have my original one here. I could use that for measurements, placement, and I don't have to do all that kind of guesswork that comes with doing an original prototype. With that being said, let's get right into it. All right, I have all my stuff ready to coffee dye this pure white jumpsuit. As you can see right here, it's very bright white. I want to kick that down a bit. So I use the freeze-dried coffee, which is much easier to make, doesn't take time to brew. Just throw it in the pot with hot water, dump the jumpsuit in, rinse the jumpsuit off, and you should be good to go once it dries. All right, so the first step on this particular jumpsuit, I want to work on the silver piping. That's gonna do the detailing pieces around all the accent pieces on this here. I've decided to go the same route I went on this one, just make the piping myself. What I'm going to use is some of this premium 550 paracord, and then I'm going to add this this satin silver. We're going to wrap around the cord itself, and we're just going to stitch along the edge there and make our own piping. Without further ado, let's get started on that. We have my ruler here, my seam gauge set to 1 3/8 of an inch. My cutting wheel looks a lot like a pizza cutter, so I'll call it that sometimes. Just position my ruler. Make sure it's good at this end. So here I am cutting the long strips of silver fabric. I went along the entire length of the yardage that I bought of this fabric. Did multiple times, just measuring the distance to make sure that it's a consistent length throughout the whole strip. So before I get started on the actual working on this jumpsuit, here's my original one from 6 years ago, back in 2019. As you can see, it has a lot of details inlaid, a lot of quilting, a lot of piping. There are two ways that you can go about starting with this. If you have a fabric that matches a generic jumpsuit that you can buy off the rack, that's probably your easier option. If there's a fabric that you want to use that's not available in that type of jumpsuit, you're going to want to get a simplicity pattern or something like that and build one from scratch. I did it on my Enterprise one and did a lot of modifications. That's a great way to go. But with this one, put the link in the description below. I'll try to do that with anything that I'm referencing. I'll do my best. But yeah, these are a set of cotton coveralls. I found a fabric for all the additional pieces that is close to matching the coffee dyed jumpsuit as possible. All right, so now that I have my my strips of silver fabric all cut out, we're going to be wrapping it around this paracord with those piping clips. This is just a lot of busy work, so you're doing like 40 feet of piping. Hopefully that'll be enough. So I'm gonna get started on that. So here I am putting the clips around the fabric that's gonna wrap around the paracord. You can use pins, but the clips are just easier for this type of work. Just make sure you make sure everything is lined up correctly. All right, so I have my my piping all prepped up, the correct thread color, the correct presser foot. And I use some of that temporary adhesive to kind of just tack up the piping so it kind of sticks together. I didn't go too crazy with it, but it just keeps everything from sliding or moving on me. I'll start with 6 of them, and I have a 7th one cut. If I need to make that, I'll make that, but hopefully this should be enough. It's just a lot of busy, repetitive work here. So switch this over to time lapse. Here I'm sewing down the piping over the paracord. It's pretty straightforward work. It's just a lot of feet you got to get through. So just take your time and go along the edge there. All right, so I got the piping cord all ready to go. I think it came out pretty good. It's about a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. I'm going to attach this to the all the detailing on this. All right, just a bit of an update here. So the coveralls that I purchased, the white cotton, I dyed them down with some coffee, so they're not as bright white as they were when I first bought them. I am pleased at how the coffee took down the white. It does match very well to the other fabric I'm going to use to make some of the quilting areas and additional pieces. So it matches pretty good. Happy with that. Next up is get my seam ripper hand ready, and we're going to go take this thing apart and move on from there. All right, so it's a new day. I'm just going to check in, update some of my progress here. So I have probably a good 36 feet of this piping that I made. Moving on, we have taken apart the jumpsuit that I purchased. Here are the sleeves. It did take quite a while to undo this because it's not just a regular seam on the side. It's folded over and then sewn twice. So here's the fabric I'm going to use for the these detail pieces that are all going to go on here. As you see, the color is really close to the coffee dyed jumpsuit. And what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to back it with some fleece or batting. Not sure what would you call it. And I found all my old patterns. So here are the foam pieces that I made. This is the chest piece. Here's the back, and these are the red chest pieces. I'll go more in depth when we get to that part. And then here's my knee pattern. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. All right, another day has passed. I've got some new supplies in. This felt or interfacing is going to back the additional pieces that are going to go on the jumpsuit. I'm going to cut this one out. This is a 4 times, 2 on the leg, 2 on the shoulders or the arms. This is going to go around the chest, and then these are the 2 knees. This is going to go on the fold. There's also a couple other pieces that are kind of just square measurements, so I don't really need a pattern for them. And once all these pieces are cut, this has a fusible interfacing on it, unlike the previous version, which is going to make things a lot easier, keep everything together. And then after those are done, we're going to quilt everything up, add the piping onto the jumpsuit. I'm going to get started. All right, so I have all my pattern pieces laid out in the correct orientation. I'm going to do this one twice. This fabric is folded upon itself. Here I am cutting the pieces out that are going to go along the arms and down the length of the legs. I folded the fabric over to minimize the amount of cuts I have to make, and my pattern pieces I made them out of a poster board as opposed to a normal pattern material, which is a little flimsy sometimes. And I used the pizza cutter wheel or the rolling blade. Makes everything easy and quick. Go around curves much easier. And here I'm cutting out the square pieces. I don't have a pattern piece for that, but it's just a measurement length and width, and I go from there and the piping to that. So I'm going to add this fusible interfacing, or it's more of a felt. It'll just help with the quilting. Here I am pressing on the felt backing of the pieces. It's got a fusible interfacing, so it just sticks right to it. And then once I finish pressing it on and it cools down, just cut the pieces out. It's not a permanent hold, but it's enough for when I do the quilting, it'll stay in place. So it'll help it keep it stable. All right, so we're back from pressing the interfacing, this felt layered interfacing to these main pieces that are going to go on the jumpsuit here. The other issue I did as I was pressing these knee onto the interfacing, I realized that screen use one, and even on the one that I did, that's the one thing that is a bright white. On some of the screens, it has more of a glossy texture to it. The knee pad on this, I kept that white as well, which is not this color. So I'm going to use these pieces, and then I do have a fabric that I'm going to use for that. We're moving actually quite well. I'm going to press the knees out. I still have to make the piping for the legs and the arms that go. Just a note on that. This, I think I went a little too thick. I cross-referenced some of the screen-used auctions and photos and the Star Trek Costumes book. It is a little bit thinner. Downsize it just a little bit. I mean, I think this still looks great, but I kind of want to make it a little bit more akin to what we saw. All right, so move on to the next step. Here I'm doing the quilting. It's very straightforward. Quilting's pretty easy. Just make sure you keep it in a straight line and keep the distances correct. And then here I am clipping on the piping, and those clips, and I went around with some pins. Make sure you have the right foot and sew it down. All right, we've successfully added the piping to this vertical piece. We're going to do this 4 times. A few other pieces that we have to add this particular piping to. It's important to note that around these curves you want to clip your the allowance for your piping, so you can better curve it around your edge there. Pretty good progress. This was, like I said, this is a lot of busy work, and then we still haven't tackled the boots or the chest armor or the helmet. So we'll just keep on going with this. All right, so we've got the 4 long straight pieces that are on the legs and the arms. They're all pressed out and the piping's on. It looks like they turned out pretty great. Long stripes here. Now we just got to add piping on the rest of the pieces, which I did a little assessment of my piping supply. I think I'm going to have to make some more. I figured I would. Here I am sewing on the piping to the main center piece of the jumpsuit. Using clips, going over pins, and just making sure you take your time and make sure everything is evened up. All right, so I'm checking in here with you guys. I am doing the knee portion. It's kind of a rounded circle, looks like a knee pad. The rest of the jumpsuit is more of a off-white kind of, little sheeny spandex. I backed it with some felt, and I'm going to be doing the quilting. But on these, the quilting it's got a circle to it. So what I'm going to do to mark out, I'm going to use this yellow, and I'm going to use this paper plate for the half round circle. So that'll give me the markings, and once I know where I'm going to sew, I just make sure I follow the stitch line. Going around the curves with the kneecaps here. Just make sure you guide it very carefully and you don't go too fast. The faster you go, the sharper the turn will be. And here I am adding the piping. I clipped the edges around the corners there. And just make sure you take your time with this one as well. Alright, so I'm checking in. It's been a couple days. I did some calculations and math, and it looks like I am short on this silver piping that I made. I probably have to make another 2 strips of it. I figured I'd show the process for these shoulder details of the same color fabric. What I'm going to use for that is this thicker braided paracord. This is the size for the piping itself. I'm not sure if that registers on camera, but this one's says 3/8 of an inch thick. I think I went a 1/2 inch on these. I don't know what the screen use one was. It might have been even smaller than 3/8, but I'm still going to go a little bit smaller than this, but I still like the to be a little more pronounced than it is. With that being said, I gotta do more of this silver piping in addition to the off-white color braid to the arms, and then let's get started. All right, so we're on the arm details and the leg details, the round, large piping on the legs and arms. 2 sets on the arms, 1 set on the legs, total of 12 individual pieces. I'm going to be wrapping this off-white fabric. A single layer of this, you could see it's a little too transparent, so you can kind of see the blue through it. So I have to double layer this this muslin here. It's not a big deal, it's just, but if it was a white rope, it would have been much easier. So what I'm going to do is I already marked off how long it needs to be for me to give myself enough of a lip for a seam allowance. So I want a 3/8 inch seam allowance on this. I'm going to cut a little bit longer, and I'm going to use the picking shears to trim it down to that length. It'll prevent the fraying. All right, so I'm laying out my fabric. I'm going to cut the strips along the edge there, cutting as many pieces as I need. Then I'm going to wrap it around the paracord here, and then once I run out of fabric, I'm going to snip the cord, add a new piece, and then sew them on. I'm using the clips here. I think I might add some pins in there just to keep it from moving. Alright, so I've made all the pieces that are going to go be attached onto the jumpsuit itself. So I'm just going to go over all those pieces here. The part that goes around the chest, wrist details, 16 plus feet of piping cord that's going to go around the legs and arms. Detail pieces that are going to be detail piece that accompanies this chest area. Here are the two knee pad pieces. Alright, so I'm wearing the split open base jumpsuit that we talked about. The piping is in the shoulder, came out great. Here's my original jumpsuit that I made 6 years ago. I'm going to be using this as more of a measurement because I made this to fit me. So I kind of know where all the pieces are going to lie, and hopefully I'll just transfer that over to here. I don't have to do any kind of judging, but for you, you might want to put this on and see where you like the placement of these things, and just try to mark it off and add the pieces where you need them. The one measurement that I got here that I'm going to be starting with is from the top of this collar to the bottom of this main piece here. It's about 16 inches collar down, and I'm going to use that as a placement for that. Here I am measuring up where I want these pieces to lie on my jumpsuit. I'm using the original jumpsuit as a reference guide to see where the placement was on that one and try to copy it as best as I can. And then I'm going to pin it down, making sure everything is locked in and where I want it to be. So I got the pieces all pinned in place on the jumpsuit, and I'm gonna stitch those down. It's kind of a crucial step here. It took me a while to kind of figure out where I needed to place these. Like, I did have the old version, but the difference was this jumpsuit is a 44 and that's a 38, so it's quite the size difference. So I couldn't just match up where it was according to whatever seams are on that. So I kind of do all my measurements and then account for the loss of length when I add all those piping details on the sleeves and arms. Yeah, we're moving along. This is quite the extensive project. I kind of forgot how much detail work and time went into one of these, and we're just on the jumpsuit. I haven't even touched the armor pieces, the helmet, the lights or foam rifle, which that probably might be a separate video. Let's get started. So now that I have it all pinned in, I'm going to be sewing in the edge there, or stitch in the ditch as they call it, and being very careful around these curves, especially as you're moving along. It's going to get bulkier and bulkier as things start coming together, and just take your time. I think I've taken it out of the machine a few times just to rotate it that way. It won't rotate because there's just so much bulk at this point, and just be careful with it. Make sure you're double checking and making sure nothing's not overlapped, and just finishing up the last pieces in time lapse. And here I am just marking off the lines where I want these piping pieces to go along the arm. I'm using yellow chalk here, seam gauge, and I have a little guide there that I measured out. Alright, I'm going to show you now what I just did here. So here's my measurements here. I have these yellow chalk lines, the long ones, that's where I'm going to cut, and either side is the seam allowance, and then between those far pieces, or the far lines here, is the measurements that are here. So when everything gets cut, every seam allowances go away, all those measurements should still track. Here I am making the cuts, cutting through a lot of fabric here, including piping cord and a few layers of interfacing and quilting. So just make sure you have a sharp blade, and I'm marking off my pieces to know which one is which, because some of them are very similar, and if they get turned around, it'll make your sleeve look a little wonky if you don't sew it right. So before you get them all scattered, make sure you mark what they are. Okay, so I have the left sleeve all prepped up and ready to be installed. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of piping. I measured it all to the bottom of each piece, so you get the longest it's going to be. I removed about 2 inches of the piping cord on each end, so when I sew the sleeve up together, it'll sew like a normal sleeve. It won't get interfered with, because that's pretty 3/8 of an inch paracord. It's pretty thick stuff. Even if you could sew through it, it wouldn't be very strong and probably rip on you. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put these pieces in, and then we're gonna get a true, I did the math on the loss of length, about 2 inches. It probably should fall in that range, and then from there I'll put it on and see where I can put the extending cuff. So here I am adding on the first piece of piping that's going on the arm. It's going to get real bulky from here, from this point on, so just make sure you're going very careful and slow, and make sure you're not stitching things that shouldn't be stitched. I think I did that a couple times here, even though I was going slow, so just be careful. Alright, so I installed the first of the sleeve piping. So I sandwiched it between those 2 layers, and it came out pretty good. Definitely did a better job than I did 6 years ago in terms of, I'm just going to continue down this sleeve and the next sleeve. It's going to take a little while, but it'll pay off in the end, I hope. Adding some more pieces to the arm. Same process, just make sure everything's in the right place, the needles are right, if I press a foot in the right spot, just keep going on with it. One more to go on this sleeve, and it's going to attach to the jumpsuit itself. Alright, so I initially needed to add a few inches to the end of the sleeve, as I lost an inch of length by the seam allowance of all the piping pieces. So you can see I added this extra length here, because I do remember on this one I did not, so I kind of just cut it off there. But yeah, I'm gonna sew these pieces on. It'll give me a bit of extra length on the sleeve that I lost. Yeah, we'll go from there. Now it's time to sew on the knee. Same process as the other piece. This one, the jumpsuit is very much in the way, so I sewed on one side first until I got to a certain point, then I removed the entire thing, rotated it outside the machine, and then sew the rest of it on from there. Alright, so we're back, and I've just added on the knee. The knee caps or knee pads. I don't know what you want to call them, but for me, it's been about a month since I've been working on this. But obviously, in terms of this video, it just jumps into the next thing. The knees are on, and next up, I'm going to add these speed loader pouches, which went like right above the waist there. These are just regular ones from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below, and put the wrist cuffs on, seal up the side of the jumpsuit. All right, so here are the pieces of fabric I'm gonna have. So the speed loader pouches, they basically have little pouches here. There's 2 of them, and this doesn't Velcro around it, so normally you just stick a belt through it, but this doesn't have a belt per se, so I gotta do this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew one edge down, slide this through, and then once that sticks out, I'm gonna sew the other side down. So perfect. All right. It's pretty cool. Oh wow. One of the needles, I brushed it against my hand. I thought it was just a light scratch, but apparently it went all the way through. So we have both speed loader pouches on. The kneecaps are on. All right, so I sewed up the sides of the jumpsuit, and it all fits well and good there in the legs and the waist and sides. One thing I didn't account for, or didn't happen in the other one, is everything's bigger. Not just the width, but the length. So the crotch seam falls way below where it should on a jumpsuit. The way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to take away 4 inches. Since I have a lot of detailing down below, I can't do it down there. So I'm going to take it up by the chest. So basically I'm going to make a seam, and basically 2 inches on each side, and I already pinned it up here. And it's going to bring it up 4 inches. So it should bring up the crotch 4 inches as well. At least that's the plan. It probably would have been easier to just make one from scratch and do it that way. But we're here, and I'm going to do that, and hopefully this works, and we can move on from there. All right. It worked. All right, so yeah, I took about 4 inches off here, and basically pulls from the shoulders to the crotch area. That's exactly where I need it to be. Leave that. All right, so I've moved the speed loader pouches down a few inches to compensate for the shortening of the jumpsuit, and now I've pinned in the wrist detail. I put it on myself and looked where I wanted it to be. Now I'm happy with it, so I'm just gonna 2 straight stitches and stitch in the ditch here, and then do the other side. Then I can seal up the sleeve, and hopefully the jumpsuit fits me as I need it. I may hem the pants up a little bit, but after that means this is done. This is it's been quite the journey out here. See, I added this extra piece here with all these seam allowance deductions. I still even though it's a bigger jumpsuit. All right, we've finally did it. The jumpsuit is finally complete. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. It was a lot of work. If you ever watched Ryan Nagata's video on this, he said it's a lot of work, but I kind of wanted to go over as to why it's a lot of work. Hopefully you guys learned a bit in this build. This is going to be the first part of the spacesuit build. The next is going to be the boots and the chest and helmet armor. I just wanted to show it side by side with the original jumpsuit. It's essentially the same pattern, the same materials and techniques that I used. This was from 2019, so 6 years ago. I'm much better at sewing and knowing what I'm doing, and I have better equipment. So this one is more polished on a closer inspection, but for a costuming point of view, or even from this camera, they probably look essentially the same. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I'm going to throw it on and you get to see what it looks like. And I did have to do a bunch of tailoring to this one since it's 3 sizes bigger than this one was. Obviously now they're essentially the same size, but that was just an extra step that I needed to do. So I recommend just going up 1 size at most, 2 if you really are unsure. But suffice to say, I'm going to throw this on, show you how it fits me. And all right, so here it is. I'm wearing the final rendition of the first contact spacesuit, undersuit, bodysuit, jumpsuit, whatever you want to call it. This was tailored to fit me. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. All the detailing came out very crisp and couldn't be more happy with it. This is going to be part 1 of the first contact spacesuit build. Be sure to check out part 2, which I will dive into making the boots, the chest, and helmet. Should just be a 2-part video. And like I said, if you like this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, post a comment below. It helps in the algorithm and gets this out to other people. If you like this video, like, subscribe. Check out this video if you want to see another one of my jumpsuit builds. And I will catch you in part 2 of the first contact spacesuit. Thanks for watching.